The Waverly Extension line ran from McPherson Street junction at the corner of Albion and McPherson Streets in Waverly to this junction with the Coogee line at Peters Corner, Randwick. A Coogee-bound tram heads down Albion Street from McPherson Street. A tram crosses on the Clovelly line. The Waverly Extension line was single track and was the first route to be converted from steam to electric traction in 1890. Cook Street, Randwick. Footboard cars on the Coogee line and a Waverley-bound corridor tram. Cowper Street. Frenchman's Road. Passing a baker's cart in Albion Street. McPherson Street Junction looking towards Bondi Junction. The routes to Clovelly, Coogee, Maroubra and La Peruse were marked by extensive off-street operation on ballasted track. From Taylor Square, trams on these routes used Flinders Street to reach Anzac Parade at its commencement at the corner of Moore Park Road. Anzac Parade was perhaps Sydney's most important tramway thoroughfare. Trams between Circular Quay and southeastern destinations pass alongside Moore Park. The showground is to the left. The numerous extra tracks for showground traffic were mostly disused by the time this film was taken in 1960. Anzac Parade Junction at the corner of Cleveland Street, more peaceful than in the 1920s, with trams to and from Circular Quay and a tram arriving from Central Railway. Kensington Junction, near the intersection of Robertson Road and Anzac Parade, had a ground-level signal box. Here, trams turned off to Coogee and Clovelly from the main line to La Peruse. This junction and its signalling arrangements were more like a railway than a tramway. Trams to Coogee and Clovelly ran alongside Allison Road and adjacent to Centennial Park. This attractive stretch of line also provided some very fast running. Near Randwick Racecourse, a siding and a long platform were provided, used in earlier years for first-class race specials. The platform and siding, to the right of this picture, remained usable to the last days of tramway operation. Now we are approaching Darley Road, where the Clovelly line diverted to the left. In this view, a special tour tram is arriving at Clovelly terminus. Trams to Coogee continued along King Street from Darley Road. Randwick Tramway workshops are on the left, and we will visit them later. The climb from the workshops on ballasted track took trams to Peters Corner. And then along Belmore and Peruse roads. The descent to Coogee involved 2 lengthy stretches of off-street operation with some attractive water views. Turning into Car Street, next stop for Wiley's Baths. This stretch of track is now a roadway. Street running was resumed in Arden Street, which incorporated another short stretch of open ballast track. Approaching the terminus, the conductor sets the points to allow the tram to reach the correct track. Departure from Coogee took trams through Parkland before Arden Street was rejoined. A puddle after rain could make the ride more interesting. This park had been reclaimed from a swamp, filled in when the tram line was built, which perhaps explains the drainage problem. An inbound tram passes under Brook Street. Car Street in late afternoon sunshine. Restrictions such as this were honoured more in the breach than in the observance. Fast running alongside Centennial Park, and one of the few super elevated or banked curves on the tramway network sees us return to Kensington Junction. The La Peruse Line was the second longest line in Sydney, extending some 10 miles from Circular Quay to the terminus. The only longer line was that to Ryde, which was almost 11 miles in length. For most of the line's existence, toast rack trams predominated as they did on many routes, but much of the film that follows was taken in later years when corridor trams provided all services. East of Dacey Avenue, a third track was provided for trams returning from Randwick Racecourse. In Kensington, trams ran between flower beds. Passing the University of New South Wales. Daceyville Junction at the corner of Gardeners Road. From Daceyville, trams to La Peruse ran wholly on open ballast track for the remainder of their journey. At Maroubra Junction, the line to Maroubra Beach diverged. This was one of Sydney's more recent tram lines, having been opened in 1921. Turning from Maroubra Road into Cooper Street. Reserved track alongside French Street and Mons Avenue. Red roofs and ocean views, classic Sydney scenery. Beachgoers relax while a tram makes its way around the large loop, which circled several streets and provided the terminal facilities at Maroubra. A departure for Circular Quay. Trams passing near Maroubra, close to the point at which the track separated to form the terminal loop. Climbing from Maroubra, some children jump from a moving tram, and one of them makes a bumpy landing. An inbound tram resumes street running at Cooper Street. Back on the Peruse Line, we are approaching Malabar Crossover alongside Long Bay Jail. Until 1950, this siding allowed the prison tram to run into the jail, carrying its hapless passengers to and from the courts at Darlinghurst. An inbound tram departs Malabar Crossover for the city. Trams were very effective at flattening pennies put on the line by small boys. The outer stretches of the Peruse Line were marked by sandy, almost desolate scenery, sometimes devoid of signs of habitation. Approaching Little Bay, the tramway department was responsible for maintaining the road pavement between the tram tracks, a task which required a fleet of steamrollers. The afternoon sun at Little Bay catches an inbound tram in the Sandhills. Resuming our journey to Peruse, we pass an inbound tram at Little Bay. Until 1935, an extension of the Matraville line formed a second route to Peruse. This is Yarra Junction, where the two lines converged about a mile short of the terminus and where the remains of the point work were still visible until the end of tramway operation. Arriving at La Peruse, where a double-tracked balloon loop and a siding provided extensive terminal facilities. An inbound tram departs from La Peruse for the city.